All right, good day, everybody. We're back in this thing, 8020, James and I in this guy. And today we wanted to do something a little bit different with our time. And since we've been bringing on different guests to help share perspective on various subjects that we may or may not have touched upon in the past, we thought it'd be a great time to revisit the relationship series over here at 8020 Different Means. And so I thought it'd be a good idea to bring on a buddy of mine who I met through an acquaintance we both have, and it was at a gender reveal. And so my partner, my girlfriend Haley, who is with child, now that that's public information, we were at a friend of hers gender reveal, and I met this gentleman here, and he introduced himself. We just started having a little bit of small talk, and then later found out that we had some more similarities than I may have guessed upon first glance. So today we're going to be talking about interracial relationships with my brother, Nick Nixon. Welcome to the show, brother.
Man, thank y'all for having me.
Absolutely. So before we really get cracking, we kind of like to break the ice a little bit. So we'll ask kind of a silly question. But right now, if you had to play any position, going back to college, you played O-line, but you couldn't be a lineman, what position would you play?
Shoot, man. I probably want to play either wide receiver or free safety. I like free safety, strong safety, something like that. Just because wide receiver, you always getting the ball. I feel like I could, as an offensive lineman, we always feel like we was just bigger athletes, but I feel like I can make some shape, getting the ball, having 10 receptions for 150 yards, something like that. Or playing free safety, just being that ball hawk, man. Like I like hitting people too, intercepting the ball, and then trying to get in the end zone with it. So either one of those positions, man, would have been fine with me.
Right, that would have been quite the sight to see.
Man, sitting at 306 trying to play free safety, man, they would have been targeting me all game.
Yeah.
What are the brokest pair of shoes that you've ever worn?
Brokest pair of shoes. That's crazy. See, okay, so what's even more crazy? Today I hit on a pair of J's. I don't know if y'all are familiar with like J's drops and sneaker app and everything like that, but I hit on the cool gray 11s. They just dropped. They weren't supposed to drop until like December. They did like a little shop drop on those. So I honestly, probably some team issue shoes for real that we used to like work out in. They used to call them like little newbies or nubbies or something like that. But I mean, they were supposed to be good for your feet and working out. I ain't really like them, but it is what it is. So.
Heck yeah. Have you heard of those before, James?
No idea what those are.
Probably not.
They sound like some white people shoes though.
Nah.
Are they the type they web out each of your toes individually?
No, they don't. Look, I could. There's no way they would have even let us wear them in the weight room at all. Weight drop on your toe, it's over with.
Yeah. They're like, well, move your feet.
Yeah.
All right. Smooth. So to set it up to provide some context, could you just give us a brief overview of kind of how you grew up and then getting into college and then how you met your partner to kind of set up the conversation?
Yeah, for sure. So just growing up, I started back with elementary school, pre-K, all that stuff like that. So I went to Catholic school my whole life. Elementary school, middle school was a little combined thing. So it was like pre-K through 8th grade all the way. Then going into high school, went to a predominantly white high school in Hendersonville, Tennessee, named Pope John Paul II. Going into college, it was sort of that same atmosphere. Going to Sanford University down in Birmingham, Alabama. I mean, we had UAB, probably like 5-10 minutes away from our campus, but it was, a predominantly white school. You wasn't a lot of Black people. All the Black people that you did probably see were, you could 9 times out of 10 they were an athlete. So it was, that's how I grew up. And meeting my girlfriend Sam, it was just one of those things where before we had even spoke and I had even really introduced myself to her. You know, she had played basketball. She was an athlete with Sanford women's basketball. And somehow I ended up finding out that she was from Somerset, Kentucky. And one of the things that my junior year in high school, we had visited up there, and before I, like I said, even knew her, before we even knew what college we was going to, we had crossed paths and like didn't, you know, not speak or anything like that, but we had crossed paths. I played against her brother in high school in a little basketball tournament. So I was familiar with her city a little bit and, you know, some of the stuff that was up there. But yeah, man, it was one of those things where that was one of the first things that we had, you know, talked about and clicked with. And then from there, it's history. We've been dating, what, five years, going on 6 this upcoming February. So, yeah, man.
Well, congrats on that endurance in the relationship, man. I feel like these days,
sure.
you know, that's especially kind of this speed dating culture. And I feel maybe it's tapered off a little bit. I don't know, with the Tinders and the Hinges. I saw a Hinge commercial somewhere. I was James shaking his head, said, "No, it ain't tapered off." Okay. Well, cause we spoke about that on the episode before, just the orientation of the mindset of a lot of people our age and our age range, where it's like they either want to cut directly to the chase, you know, the chase sequence, or they're either looking for something so extreme in the long term where they're sitting down with people like, look, next person I'm with, I gotta marry them. They gotta bear my children. This, that, and the third. And it's like, whoa, where's the space to kind of just vibe, you know, and feel things out a little bit. So that's dope to hear that y'all been together so long. Now, growing up, going to a Catholic school, how would you say that shaped your how did that shape you socially, and how did that shape you culturally?
So it was, you know, one of those Catholic schools. Are you talking about like high school, or are you talking about more like, you know, elementary and middle school? Because at that time, you just going to school, you just excited to see friends and everything like that. You know, really excited for PE class, which most of us were. Not even doing like, you know, division, all that stuff like that. So I'll talk about more like high school. High school, it was just like, okay, you know, culturally we had this thing, and it was just why I don't know, but it was just this thing that we had at lunch called the black table. So that's where all like the black people used to sit, like the, you know, and it wasn't, I guess it was sort of segregation that we was doing, but it was just like not really, just because that's who you connected with the most. So I could talk about, you know, certain stuff that was going on in pop culture, or the hip hop culture. Like, shoot, we could talk about the BET Awards that was upcoming, or something like that I couldn't talk about with, you know, my white friends. And that's no disrespect to them, but like they just can't relate to me because they didn't even know what BET was. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that culturally, it was just one of those things where that's who you really gel with. But like I said, I gel with everybody in high school. It was one of those things where, being the athlete that I was, and you know, people knowing that I was gonna go play Division I ball, it was just like, okay, like, you know, man, let's hang out with Nick, or we want to do something with Nick. So, man, socially, besides outside of the classroom, I really didn't even like really hang out. I didn't go to parties and stuff like that. Like you would probably be surprised, I didn't really have like my first like drink of alcohol or anything until like my senior year in high school. So at that point, you know, freshman through junior year, I was just concerned with getting a scholarship. Once I sort of got that scholarship and everything like that, everything had started to pretty much just change. It was just like, okay, like, look, like now you're gonna get to listening to my parents and everything. They sort of sheltered me away from that and just kept me focused on what I needed to do in order to get that Division I scholarship to go play football, because they knew my goals, and I mean, everybody in the school knew my goals. So I wasn't afraid to tell anybody, look, no, like I'm not doing that or anything like that. So man, yeah. That's honestly, socially and culturally, it was like almost two different groups that you hung out with. But I mean, being in a predominantly white school, like, of course, like it's not like I'm gonna solely hang out with black people like that or anything like that, because you limit yourself to what you can do. what friends you can make. I got white friends that I talk to every day, even at Sanford. So it's just like you can't limit yourself to nothing like that, because it's gonna hurt you in the long run.
No, I definitely agree. And the reason I kind of pitched the question that way is because sometimes there's this idea of nature versus nurture, and that's like a dichotomy or a framework that can be applied to many different situations or topics or subjects. And when we're talking, so we can really get deeper into this whole idea of interracial relationships. I didn't go to a Catholic school. Actually, in fact, where I spent the bulk of my time, really from fifth grade forward, was in Smyrna, and specifically at Campbell. And this was the most diverse high school in all of Cobb County. But when I was a lot younger, I spent some years in Douglasville, which is predominantly white area. And the reason I was curious, your perspective on that, is because I've heard this from different friends I've had over the years, friends in high school, friends at college, and where, let's say I'm with some of my friends, and these are Black women. They may start to dog me if I'm dealing with a white chick. And I remember even this is one of my best friends in like late elementary school, maybe like sixth, seventh grade. And she actually told me she thought I was racist towards Black women because I had crushes on some different white girls.
Yeah.
And so I was just curious, you going to a Catholic school, how, these different kind of angles of, all right, quote unquote, our people, the folks who look like us from a melanation standpoint, versus, people who look more like your current girlfriend, white folks, whoever, just people who are not Black women. If at any point anybody directly approached you and said anything left, or they said anything supportive, or just kind of what has your walk been, or just did you ever even have any anxiety or any self-consciousness about having a white partner, knowing that in our community, these Black women, they can be hard, they can be rough on brothers.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So definitely that anxiety and, even sometimes frustration comes with that, just seeing it. And I guess it's not really a spoken thing where people just come up to you and just tell you that they, like, we don't respect that or nothing like that. Honestly, man, I'm 6'4", sitting at 240 pounds. So nobody's gonna walk up to me and tell me something that I can't do. So like that's fine. But seeing those looks walking down the street and everything like that. But like I said, back to high school, there weren't enough. There weren't a lot of Black people anyway. And even at Sanford, there weren't a lot of Black people anyway. The majority of the time it was athletes, and shoot, I'm hanging around football players all day, and it's just like, okay, like what comes with that is that you always see it, but that stigma of athletes are always, Black athletes are always with the the white females and everything like that, which it is true in some cases, but it's like they people act like we're going out there and like almost, I guess, choosing, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like that's not what's happening. Like these girls, they're attracted to the Black athletes. They're attracted to the white athletes. It happens all the time. They're just attracted to athletes. They're attracted to that status that we have on campus. That social stigma that we get at campus. Being able to go to a club or something like that. Somebody buys drinks or something like that. It's stuff like that they're I would say attracted to. But like, I mean, with me and Sam, it didn't even work out like that. So like, shoot, I always joke, and I'm like, she came on to me first, but if she got on here, she'd argue different. Anyway, it was I just just really met her. I didn't even like notice her on campus or anything, because most of the time, shoot, like her season overlapped with mine, so it would be like our last 2 or 3 games or something like that, and they would already be starting preseason and everything like that. So we didn't even meet until the second semester of our freshman year. And once that happened, she was I'm talking about like mid season in basketball season, man, and just having time to like hang out and just really gel. We found out that we had more in common than I did with anybody else. Like for real, like it didn't matter who it was. Like I said, I had already been to her city. She had been to Nashville multiple times. So it was just like, okay, like, dang, we connecting already. And it felt right. Like it's hard to explain. Like you just don't know until like you know what I'm saying? Like that first time of us like hanging out and like talking to each other like in person, it was just like yeah, like I know this is my person. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's hard to explain that to other people, especially our people, because they don't realize that like it's hard. Like, and I don't even like view it as like a color thing. Like regardless, like if you find your person, man, she could be purple, green, it don't matter, bro. Like if you find your person, like that's your person. Like I know this girl will ride or die for me. Like, you know what I'm saying? She been with me through the ups, downs, like everything, man. Like I had a chance to go to the league. Like she been through me. Like she didn't see me at my worst and she didn't see me at my best. And she didn't get like stay consistent through it all. So like I'd do anything for her. And she knows that. And vice versa. Like I didn't tell her stuff that I don't even feel comfortable telling my parents, man. And like they they the reason I'm here. So it's just, man, like seeing other people try to almost degrade that whenever you walking down the street or something like that, like it's heartbreaking because you don't even know me. Like you don't know my experiences. You don't know anything that I've been through. So before you try to judge, just look, at least ask. And then, you know, I promise you'll find out that we was almost a match made in heaven before you sit there and try to do that. So, yeah.
Thank you.
What do you think I mean, you kind of spoke about the, walking down the street and the judgment from the random strangers, but judgment from people we love hits different. What have you found to be the biggest obstacle with you dating her? Maybe with her parents, with your family, with your sister, with external family? Like, what's the biggest obstacle there with people that you love that you would ride or die for as well?
Well, most of the times, look, like it's not even. You don't even, and I don't know how it is in Sae'Von's case, but you don't even like really hear about it. Like your partner almost tries to shelter you from that because they don't want to tell you something. Oh, well, my grandparents are this type of way or something like that. Because like especially if you've already met them, like that can ruin a whole relationship. And you know, one of the biggest things that we don't really like fake people. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, if I didn't already shook hands with you, if I didn't already sat at your table and broke bread with you, or we done been out to eat or something like that, and then I'm hearing that you're doing X, Y, and Z behind my back because you don't like the way that I look or something like that, that can honestly ruin a whole relationship. But personally with like my family, so like I have like two of my cousins, one of my uncles, on my mom's side, dated and married an Asian woman. So I have Asian cousins, Black and Asian cousins in my family, like first cousins that I talk to all the time. So that was nothing really ever, just I guess where my family just really like looked at me sideways for dating a white girl. And like I said, they always knew my experiences. Like they knew the situations that they put me in. They put me in predominantly white schools. So it was like, okay, like if Nick if he potentially brings home a white girl or a light-skinned girl or something like that, a girl that does not look like him, that's fine. Like, like that's what we put him around. So, yeah, man, my parents are accepting of it. Her parents are even, very accepting of it. At first they were, and I won't get too much into like her family detail or anything like that, but really the closest people to her are her mom, her grandma, and then her brother. Besides that, like she doesn't really deal with anybody else in her family. Like I said, I don't want to get too much into that just because I know how she is, but man, like just first time me meeting her mom and everything, of course there's that standoffish type, deal is gonna be there just because I don't look like them. And shoot, like I was like, man, I was surprised to find out that she even watched like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air the other day. Like real talk, so it's stuff like that I know it seems corny, but like that's just something I wouldn't even expect like her to even like seeing, like that, like because them, you know what I'm saying? Like, look, I'm gonna just be real with y'all. Like that's them black people problems that they dealing with on a black TV show, on a black sitcom that's shown on a black television. You know what I'm saying? On BET. So like that's something like I wouldn't have even thought that she would have watched the Fresh Prince or the Proud Family or anything like that. at the end of the day, though, it's me and her, and that's how I view it. You know, Sae'Von, in your case, I know it's you and your partner, you and your girl, versus the world. Like, obviously, you want your parents and grandparents and your family to be involved and to accept it. But like at the end of the day, if they don't, like, I'm not getting on the knee proposing to your mama. You know what I'm saying? I'm not.
Facts.
Darn sure not proposing to your brother or anything like that. So it's like, if they with us, then they with us, and if not, then it's you and me. If you care about me enough to be with me, then look, I can look past all that. I don't care how it look. They call Jesus every name but a child of God. You know what I'm saying? So who am I? I'm not better than Jesus. I'm not about to sit there and, you know, compare my situation to anything like that, because it's not that deep. For real. And if I look, I know I'm going on a rant and stuff, but if I'm
we here to talk.
If I'm spending what you would say, me passing, I'll go back to the little strangers thing. Like, I'm walking down the street or something like that. If you see like 10 people a day, we'll just keep it at 10. 8 or 9 of those people, they got something to say. 2 of those people, they're, you know, 2 or 1 person, they're actually, you know, like, oh, like they didn't say nothing at all. Most of the time, I'm not even worried about what people got to say, because out of all that time throughout the day, all those 10 people out in, or 9 people, 8 people out and made mad, like, they got to go back home to their family. They got to deal with those issues themselves. Most of the time, I'm with her anyway, so I'm not about to sit there and you know, worry about what somebody else got to say just because I'm not doing life with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, shoot, that one interaction that we had crossing down the street, you giving me the side eye, or you cussing me out or something like that, which I said, that's like really like extreme. But like, I know sometimes you'd be naive to think that like that stuff doesn't happen in people's heads. Like, you know what I'm saying? But you just can't. I just honestly brush it off, man, because I didn't playing college athletics. I didn't been through worse. So yeah.
Yeah, so the general approach is to not give it any energy
At all. Because if you do, man, it's not good. Like, you just helping prove their cause. You know what I'm saying? You helping fit that stereotype that you want to fit, and then they got a case. You know what I'm saying? If you don't even get it, it takes 2 to argue. You know what I'm saying? If I don't argue with you, then you just look crazy sitting there talking to yourself. So yeah.
So my advantage on that is obviously the first route is to not give it any energy. And taking it kind of a level deeper, because exactly to your point, at the end of the day, the relationship is between 2 people, and I believe that firmly. But I think it can get a little interesting, possibly precarious, when one really starts to try to extrapolate out long term.
Yeah.
And I say that simply because a lot of times people who may have these feelings or these sentiments about, okay, I want my family, my child, my daughter, my son to be with somebody who's like us. For whatever reason, they got that mentality from it. In most cases, most people I've come across who've actually opened up and have been open to having this conversation, it's something that they were taught from the generation above them. As just like, you know, okay, wash your hands, don't put your elbows on the table, and don't bring home no nigga. Like, literally, these lessons are often passed down that way. And so it can often take people getting older in their life, stopping, having some reflection, having some actual personal direct experience with somebody of whatever stereotype that they were taught or that was embedded in their mind, to actually recognize, okay, this was a prejudgment where prejudice comes from. This was an idea of somebody instead of me seeing them as the individual. And I think that it becomes important to address it eventually, instead of kind of just like, you know, because one side of it is kind of the laissez-faire. All right, cool. Maybe auntie, uncle, somebody has a little bit of, you know, they feel a little ways about the situation, and you kind of just push through it. That's one route to go about it. I'm of the mindset that certain issues need to be handled more directly, because ultimately, and this is just something I've seen play out, you know, in different situations where, let's say, you know, I got a partner, if they become stressed out because of the energy that they're getting from people in their lives about it, it's like they can only sometimes shrug off so much. And so I'm of the belief that in a lot of instances, I just think, the universe, God works in funny ways, but it's often families who have had these stigmas in the past on both sides. It's not just from the white side, it's from the black side, it's from the
For sure.
every side. But oftentimes they'll be the ones who somewhere in their family line, there'll be some mixing, of cultures that kind of forces the discussion to come up again, and people to question where they have gotten these ideas from. And even a friend of mine's mother mentioned how when she was having her child was of mixed descent. At the time, her great grandfather was in the Klan, and like I think he was like a grand wizard or something like that in the Klan. You know what I'm saying? So it's like this is running deep. But that when the child finally came and he saw this child, it's like the shit started to melt off of him because it was just that realization of like, all that shit I was talking, this is my blood. This is my great. And it can force people. Sometimes it's like a spontaneous recovery, and they can just shrug it off. But sometimes it takes people really having to chew on it and be forced to deal with it. And I think that can certainly be the case when people have children, because it's one thing to be dating somebody. I think sometimes folks may hold out on their feelings just because they're kind of like, all right, well, this is a phase. Okay, she's going through a phase. He's going through this phase, or they're acting out. But when a child comes along, then it's like, damn, am I really going to hate my own? Does that make any sense? Is it possible for me to even do that? And to me, those are the things that are just another side that I think really is yet to be explored as deeply or really even touched on, because obviously we have these cultural expectations of just this idea that, X should be with Y, when, like you said, and I think James would agree here too, it's about overall compatibility. And sometimes there's this idea that if you come from similar cultures, there will be enhanced compatibility. And I think that for a lot of people, that's why they kind of go that way. You were about to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah. So just building off of that, one thing I like being with, and like I said, I don't know how it is in your case, but finding out the other day that the Sam had watched the Proud Family and stuff like that was like actually like really, really like dope to me. You know what I'm saying? Like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, because that's something that I wouldn't have even thought that you would like have watched. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's cool whenever those cultures can collide, you know what I'm saying? Like seeing her listen to me being able to put on some like new hip hop music and stuff like that. Her being able to put some like country music on me, like you going down a whole nother avenue that you wouldn't have done just being with somebody of your color. Not saying there's nothing wrong with that, because there's not. I'm obviously, because my dad was black, my mom was black. So like, you know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that. But like you experience a whole, man, I done did stuff that I wouldn't have even like thought of doing. Like, man, going kayaking. Like, I ain't how many black people do you know go kayaking?
Zero.
You know what I'm saying? How many black people do you know go fishing? Like, and actually like enjoy it. Like, that's stuff that I wouldn't have even done. Being able to go up to her house, and like she lives in, whenever I tell you legit the middle of nowhere, has like 60 acres of land, like legit the middle of nowhere, but like just going up there, sitting in a deer stand, looking at all the land, like that's like, but like that's stuff that like you wouldn't experience me being from the city. And I feel like you limit yourself. And like I said, there is nothing wrong with it. If you feel like you that's what you want to do, by all means do so. But I just feel like there's almost not more advantage, but there's a whole nother, like I said, avenue that's opened up whenever you date outside of your race. Like you experience so much more that you wouldn't have even done. Like, and I say so much more, but like so much more that you wouldn't have even like dreamed of doing, thought of doing. Like I said, bro, I ain't never even thought about fishing or anything like that. Went fishing, actually caught fish. Like that's something like I enjoy to do. So you just got to be open to experiences, and just closing it off. Like I don't know what the numbers or anything like that is. I ain't no expert in that, but like if you limit yourself to like one group of people, like you you know what I'm saying? Like you're limited already. That's like only saying like, okay, you can only eat chicken for the rest of your life. Like it don't matter how it is, baked, fried, whatever it is, like, but you can only eat chicken. So like you're not even getting the experience eating a burger or getting the experience eating fish or anything like that. So I just don't feel like you should limit yourself. Now, there are preferences. Like I said, some people do prefer chicken over beef, fish over beef, or stuff like that. But man, just going ahead and coming in life and just saying, "Oh well, I'm gonna just limit myself to this just because of my grandparents told me, because of what my mama told me." Like, your mama could be wrong, and a lot of people don't like standing up to their parents because that's their parents. But like, look, like your mama could be wrong, your daddy could be wrong. So you got to experience life for yourself. And that was one of the biggest things with me leaving, because I knew I didn't want to stay anywhere in Tennessee. I don't care freaking what Vanderbilt could have offered me, Memphis, all them schools could have offered me, man. I knew good and well I was not staying anywhere in Tennessee. Like, I wanted to get out. And that was that whole part of like being able to like experience new things. You know what I'm saying? You got to be able to experience new things to even see what you like, man. Like, and a lot of people don't do that. I mean, that's, like I said, that's fine. Like, but my grandma, for example, she was one of the people that, and I love her to death, but she was one of the people that was really just like sort of like standoffish at first, like with me and Sam dating. And I didn't bring Sam around, didn't bring it to the house, didn't even bring it to that city, really, just because I didn't want her to like experience nothing that you know I had been experiencing with going to those predominantly white schools and everything like that. So being able to just, you know, sit down with my grandma and actually tell her, like, look, like, this is my person. Like, Sam is my person. Like, she just, you either on board with me or you're not. And like I said, at the end of the day, it's all love. Like, I love you to death, grandma. But like, look, like, if you don't want to be a part, like you can get used to this, honestly. And that's hard. Those different conversations that you have to have with, you know, your loved ones, and they should be able to respect that. And if they don't, man, look, like
that tells you a lot about them.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. And it's heartbreaking because I've seen that happen with families before. Like I said, I ain't gonna get too much into her family, but like you can see that sometimes with you know, people on her side of the family. And it's just like, man, like you just ruining a whole relationship right there, like that you could potentially be having just because you don't like nobody outside of her race or anything like that. So yeah, man.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have a little bit of experience, not with dating anyone that's Black. I definitely am intrigued by. I am definitely interested in. I am definitely have not, with all due respect, had a taste, but I'm not against it. Not against it. Not against it.
I'm already knowing.
You know, I used to work out in the gym up in Smyrna, right there close to the Battery, like over where the Braves play. And it's, I mean, the gym's probably like 95% Black, right? Mm-hmm. Like maybe like 4% Asian and Hispanic, and then 3 white people, and I'm one of them. And so that was a very interesting culture shock because I grew up predominantly white. I grew up in Peachtree City, you know, golf cart capital. We had like literally, I went to McIntosh High School. We had maybe we were 4% Black, maybe 5% Black max. Went to UGA. It was a little bit more of a mix, but you know, I still kind of stayed in the fraternity scene and the bar scene, and that's more predominantly white again. But I think it's interesting that you say that there's just some sideways talk and some sideways hate there, because I even saw, not in my experience, but seeing white women in the gym around Black male trainers. The Black women, dude, the Black women in there, and I'm generalizing, I'm definitely broad stroking right now, but there was hate thrown around for no reason. Yeah. There was always chirping behind people's backs, never to anybody, but always about that person. And there was multiple white female trainers that were in there that would always grab the attention. I mean, it's regardless of what they look like, it's easy to stand out when you are the minority, you know, in any regard. So, I mean, have you caught flack from people that you love that are friends of yours, or like, is that something that just exists, not so much culturally, but more so on an individual level? Because I feel like that's something that I've seen. there. But I mean, that's really the only experience that I have seen that, witnessing Black women being upset with Black men looking at white women.
Yeah. So in my life, I guess my friends and everything, man, like, and I speak on me being in college. So like in college, it was like me and Sam, like I felt like we was like the couple that like almost everybody wanted to be. So people honestly, like, they looked up to us, like, for real, like, and it wasn't because we weren't going in that bar scene and everything like that. Like, that just wasn't the type of person that I was, like, especially after a football game. Like, I just wanted to kick back, watch some more football. Like, man, that was a good night to me. But and she definitely wasn't that type of, girl either. So it was like, why would we sit there and go out if that's not what we're gonna do? Regardless of the fact, though, like I said, man, I just feel like everybody like looked up to us, regardless of our race or anything like that. It was just one of those things where, like, man, like that's not a Black dude with a white girl. Like, that's just Nick and Sam. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's who that is. Like, they didn't really put like a race on it. Now, it probably did happen early in our relationship. That's what I'm saying. I would, that's just naive of me to think that it didn't happen, or that it probably still doesn't happen with some of the, we meet new people every day. Like, she's currently in dental school and stuff like that. And she, I bet money she probably has some like dental friends that have, sat there and question. But it's like everybody that ends up like meeting me, and I'm not just trying to like brag on myself or anything like that, or like everybody, like my friends that end up meeting Sam, they're just like, man, like she's like the perfect fit for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, like that really is your person, and they can see that. That's why I was saying, like, people would always think that me and Sam are like that ideal couple that you like would want to have. So catching hate, like I said, most of the time I'm not even in the mix of it anyway. And like I said earlier, talking to Sae'Von, it was like, man, I'm 6'4", 245, 240 pounds. Nobody's gonna come up to me and say, oh, well, we don't like you being in that relationship or anything like that. Like that's crazy. Like, they're not gonna tell me that to my face. So I wasn't even worried about it majority of the time anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so I probably did catch hate outside of my face, but I don't really know, man. I like I said, I try not to get in confrontations with people and stuff like that, especially over something like that. Like, look, you barely probably even know me. Like, don't speak on nothing like that if you don't really know it. That's what I would try to tell them. So.
And I think what I heard from what you're saying, this is one of those things that seems very obvious, but because you are not a caricature of a Black male, and I'm assuming her not being a caricature of a white female, it's just people, they feel that energy, so they don't bring that energy to you of trying to put you in this box of, oh, they supposed to act like XYZ, because it's usually based on a bunch of stereotypes that are hyped up versions of a subset of people.
Yeah, bro, very much. Whenever, like I said, you see those, and what makes it so bad, you see those like stigmas and stuff that always happen, and that didn't help like anything that we had going on. So like I said, man, being in a predominantly white school, of course I was going to probably wind up with a white girl, just because that's all
statistics.
That was. Yeah, like this just based off of numbers, bro. Like it was a better chance. So man, there's nothing that you could really even, I guess, put into words with that. But I mean, just like I said, meeting Sam, it was just one of those things where Sam could have been Black and we still would have clicked, just because it was like, bro, like I done already been up to your city, I done played against your brother, didn't even know it. So like we already crossed paths before I even like spoke a word to you. We ended up going to the same university. We got like the same like goals, like everything, like, man, same ambitions. Bro, like, whenever, like, I'm so competitive with her. Like, I don't even, like, if we both driving down the street, I will not let this girl beat me down the street. If we cooking together, I'm gonna cook whatever I'm cooking first before you even get the chance to like finish cooking it. So it's just like we just clicking so much on a deeper level. She could have been there in green, blue, pink, purple. It don't matter, man. Like, I would like still would have been vibing with her to this day, like just like we are. So that's how I looked at it, man.
Yeah, I think that's the way people should look at it, man. we've had James and I a couple different conversations just about the topic of race. Because at least I feel that these days, a lot of times conversations around race get very charged or very polarized, and they're not able to be had in more of a leisurely fashion, more of a level-headed fashion, not really trying to paint one side as a victim, one side as an
Yeah.
aggressor. That
And
shit happens
that's
too
hard
much.
to do too, man. That is
Yeah.
very difficult to do. Just because I know, man, we didn't have, and like I said, with her being white and me being black, we didn't have heated discussions like that before. Where it was like, okay, like who was right, who was wrong in this situation. With shoot, because we'd be not everybody went through 2020, man. We was all seeing those Black Lives Matter protests and everything like that. So it was just like, okay, like like those conversations were definitely going to be had between me and her, just because I want to, I'm curious of how you think, and she's curious of how I think. But those are types of conversations that you have to have, and like I said just earlier, like culturally, I think that's one of the things that really like gels us together, because she can walk in my shoes, like I can walk in her shoes and understand, okay, like dang, like this is what it feels like for you, like this is why you might have some family members that think this way or something like that, or this is why your friends think like that, and she's able to do the same thing with me. Like she's able to understand, okay, like this is why you don't like stuff like this. It's all about just like experiencing and really just sitting down and man, just context and sitting down and communicating. If you don't communicate, it don't matter who you with. If you don't communicate with your partner, it's not going to be a good relationship, because they're always going to be on edge. Like you're always going to be on edge thinking that you did something wrong whenever you didn't. Like it's crazy. Communication is the biggest part, especially whenever you're dating somebody outside of your race, so they can understand. That's how they understand.
Would you say it's a fair comment that perhaps some people avoid engaging in relationships? These don't even have to be romantic relationships. These can just be fucking friendships, but relationships with people outside of their most adjacent culture, because they don't want to do the work that often is extra, way more communication than you may need with somebody who quote unquote already understands your language, already understands your history, your story, your context. Do you think that might be one of the reasons some people also shy away from stepping into a new territory, a new culture, a new type of dynamic with somebody?
Yeah, that, like I said, with people listening to their, your parents can sometimes be like your biggest like influencers and everything like that, like biggest heroes to people. But if that's how you grew up, like it's like, okay, like getting outside of that level, like everybody wants to be in like their own like level of comfortability. So like if you like stepping outside of that, like, and it could be like, I'll just use like a very broad example, like shoot, let's say you get a new job in another state or something like that, like, and they could be paying double or triple what you're making right now. You're not gonna leave, you know what I'm saying? Like you're not gonna want to leave your hometown, because like that's your hometown. And I guess that fear of having to learn something new, having to, make new friends and everything like that. That's how I feel like it is with people, like being in a relationship or trying to even be friends with people outside of their race. Like it's like, okay, like dang, like this is how like I might have to like change up. And that's why you see, and this is one of the things that I really just it low key like gets on my nerves, but it's just like act like you whenever you come around me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, don't try to like come around me like saying like, man, what's up, bro? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if that like, because that like, I can see straight through that. Like, that's not cool. Like, you know what I'm saying? Act like yourself. I would respect you more if you just acted like yourself. Like, shoot, if you come up and you don't want to give me a dap or nothing like that. Like, if you give out fist bumps, bro, give out fist bumps. Like, that's cool with me. Like, I can adapt. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's fine with me. I like genuine people. It don't matter what color, nothing like that. Like I just like genuine people that come around me and like don't try to act like anything that you're not. Because shoot, I'm telling you, people can see straight through that. I don't know how it is with you and James, but I'm telling you, I can read straight through that every single time. If you try to come up and act like, oh man, like what's up, bro? Like, yeah, like to just start speaking that lingo, it don't even like it don't flow right. It don't even like you look goofy, you look silly trying to do that. So don't do it. Just act like yourself, man. For real.
Yeah. No,
And that goes both ways too.
no,
That goes
absolutely.
both ways. Don't if you black and you know trying to get into like like just go up
Hmm.
there and be like yourself. Like they respect you more if you just do that. Like for real.
Yeah, because otherwise you're acting and pretending. And it's super funny you say that because like growing up, I had a diverse group of friends, and it was funny. The N word, nigga, it's a charged word for a lot of people,
Yeah.
and it would be hilarious when I would see people who, if you just glanced at them, most people, if it was a multiple choice test, and they'd be like, should they be saying nigga? They'd be like, no. But when people like that would say the word not being around, and I would just notice who they would say it around and who they wouldn't,
Yeah.
because I would never pop somebody out to be like, look, it's about energy, it's about, what's the intent behind whatever you communicate. You can call me, I literally, my mom showed me a paper from like third or fourth grade. Somebody called me vampire, and I was chasing after them to beat their ass because it was disrespectful, apparently. Now,
Yeah.
they didn't call me nigga, they called me vampire, but it was smoke. And it would always boggle my mind how people would, they feel comfortable saying nigga around me because it's like, I'm just letting people speak freely and just kind of like, yo, one day you may run into some consequences. And just because I'm
Yeah.
not enforcing them doesn't mean that
Don't
somebody's
mean
not
don't
going to
mean
take
that you
that
get the pass
way
to do it.
differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just not your daddy. So, I've told you my piece on it. And it's funny. A guy I know a few weeks ago, he actually shared a story with me where he was being a little bit loose with the word, Caucasian fella. And he was wound up, he was doing like paintball or something with some of the cats on the team at UGA. And some sort of way I guess it was hype. He was in the spur of the moment and he said, nigga. And he said, boy, it got quiet. And they looked at that, man. He's like, he ain't
Man.
never said the word since. He said, I felt so bad because they thought I meant it in such a bad way. But he basically got to the point where he was saying he just wanted to fit in. He just so badly wanted
Yeah.
to be accepted. And I think to your point, it's like, yo, we ain't looking for anybody to pretend to be accepted. We
At
just looking for you
all.
to keep it real. Just be
Keep it
you.
real. Just be yourself, man. You ain't gotta come around and start accepting the lingo. Like I promise you, if you do, more than likely we'll start saying like, and like I said, there's
Yeah.
different levels to it. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? But like, bro, like it's like saying bro around people. Like I call everybody bro. It don't matter if you white, black, Hispanic. It don't
Mm-hmm.
matter. Like I call everybody bro. Like if I like you, man, I'm gonna call you bro. But that's what I do. Like that's the lingo I speak. You don't have to come around and start calling me bro just because I'm doing that or because you want to fit in. Like if you say bro, if you say like man or something like that, like just speak on that. Like do what makes you like just be you. Like I said, man, I always respect like more like genuine people that keep it straightforward. Like just do that. Like even if, and this is gonna sound crazy, but like, even if you are racist, like, I would respect the racist coming up to me and telling me, like, look, like, I don't appreciate you and Sam being in a relationship together or something like that. Like, that's fine. Like, I understand. Look, okay, like, I can only be with you on this level to this certain extent, but outside of like, walking past you down the street or something like that, like, I can't freak with you just because like you don't even respect me as a man to be with Sam. So it's like, okay, look, I would rather I respect you for coming up to me and saying that rather than people coming up to my face and then being blase some type of way and then going back to their home and then they talking behind social media or something like that. Just atting folks and you know what I'm saying, like how it is nowadays, bro. It's like you got so
Yeah.
many social media outlets and people can just get on there and talk and if they at you, especially if you had a confrontation with them earlier that day. So it's like, bro, you look stupid, first of all. Like, look, I know
Yeah.
you talking about me. You should have just said that to my face. So
A whole lot of passive aggression, man. Whole lot of
yeah.
passive aggression.
A little bit more abstract to more relationships. We're all men here. We all try to show up for our partners when we have some. Don't have a partner currently, but this definitely applies when I do. What would you say, Nick, is what's the biggest vulnerability of a man in today's age as it pertains to service to partner? Black, white, Asian, whatever. Where are we lacking as men?
bro. So I guess it would be just listening, honestly, like just actually like listening. Like sometimes you can say like, oh, like, I heard you or something like that. But uh I feel like at the end of the day, especially with, with Sam, like she just wants to like be listened to, like not, and like I said, it's not just like, oh, like I hear you type stuff. It's like, okay, like actually listening to, like being like engaged in the conversation, not just uh not just acting, like not just being present, but like actually like being present, if that makes sense. Like that's one thing that I know Sam really does appreciate. Like her love language is quality time, and so it's like it don't matter what we could be hiking, kayaking, it don't matter. Like shit, we could be working out, going to the gym, anything. Like it's just like being together. Like that's one of like her biggest like love languages. So like just being able to speak your partner's love language, I guess. But with men, you know how it is. Like, we don't like to get deep on those levels and stuff like that. We like to keep everything at the surface. So uh, the more deep that you get with your partner, the better relationship that you'll have, honestly. And just like being open and honest with them, like it's you got to do that in order to having that communication, being able to tell her like whenever you're not feeling something, or shoot her, just being able to listen to her and like actually like remember things. Like I know like one of like the Christmas gifts that she wants this year is a pair of Air Force Ones. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, like me actually, taking note of that. And if I get it, then I get it, or shoot, get a pair of J's or something like that. Like, and it can help on so many levels. Like, shoot, J's are something I feel like are big, like culturally with like Black people. Like, I feel like a lot, like my cousins and brother and everything, like they like that. He's really like huge in the shopping for J's. So like being able to like actually like get her a pair of J's and like show her like, look, like I care about you, like I'm listening to you, like shoot, like I ain't, and I'm even like bridging that gap between my family and you culturally. Like they like now they see you with the pair of J's on at the next family function. Like now they hype, you know what I'm saying? Like it's stuff like
Yeah.
that, man. It's just like you got to make people feel like appreciated, and that's what girls like, man. So
What do you think, James? What do you think that where we're lacking as men?
I think it's communication. I think we're very good at isolating ourselves. I think we're very good at putting ourselves in a situation where we protect ourselves from any kind of outside um, negativity. But I think that also robs us of joy. That robs us of connection. That robs us of showing up for our partners. That puts us in an echo chamber where we are doing great and it is wonderful and we're here with this person. But are we really? Like,
yeah,
are we really, or are they a warm body, or are we a warm body for them? Like, are we doing what we need to be doing? I would say in large part, most men are not. Like, divine masculinity is leadership. If your woman is sitting in the divine masculine and you're sitting in the divine feminine, you might be doing something wrong.
yeah,
Might put you in a weird position. Might end up ending your relationship. But I don't know. I've dated people less than both of you have. So
Yeah, I think it's the communication, man. It's the transparency. I was actually having it was a funny thought the other day, but I hadn't really stopped and thought about the distinction between honesty and truthfulness. And I feel like the kind of the way society is moving, and we look at things like these fact checkers and disinformation, all this other stuff. It's planting the seed in people's mind to think in terms of factual information, truth, in that kind of
mhm,
sense. And I think that, and I'm not saying it was designed to necessarily do this, but a consequence or a side effect of this is that a lot of people are becoming further distanced from actual honesty. And as I look at it, this is no Webster's definition necessarily, but honesty is that combination of genuineness and transparency, but also some degree of a spontaneity. Like you can be with somebody can be highly manipulative and do it all from a base of truth. but it will be hard for somebody to manipulate you if they're being honest. And I think that in a lot of relationships, a lot of times people, especially in the early stages, a lot of times will enter relationships trying to tread water of truthfulness and try to kind of shape the direction that the relationship takes. But okay, if I don't have to mention this and I mention this at the right time, and kind of playing with the quote unquote facts, as opposed to just like, hey, babe, I think I might love you.
Yeah.
Ah, and it was something, that I don't know if it was another chain of events that kind of spawned that thought on, but when I first started talking really in depth with Haley, because I've known her for some years, we met at UGA, and it was after my last relationship, which I was in for about 3.5 years. And same thing there. She was Italian, and she was Italian and Lebanese. And when we broke up, I was just like, whoa, I need to work on actual connections, just with women, not sexual, but just actual platonic friendships with women. And I reached out to Haley because I bumped into her, and was like, yo, I feel like she'd be cool to get to know on a bit deeper of a level. And our whole trajectory for weeks and weeks and weeks was doing nothing but just sitting outside on her porch, just talking. I'd plan to be there maybe for 30, 45 minutes. It'd be 5, 6 hours gone. When you really sit down for that long, kind of just small talk and just powwow, and like, you kind of enter into discovery.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like that was one of the biggest things. Me and Sam, we always like joke about it. Like one of the first things that like we did whenever we like first got in a relationship, we would just sit in like the car and like listen to music, like just hip hop music, like country music, like just sitting there like actually like jamming out. We ain't even know like 45 minutes to an hour just gone by. Like the car didn't cut off. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's something that you doing, and like, bro, like actually having those like interactions and just being able to like build on a deeper level. Like I'm sitting there explaining to you the beef between Biggie and Tupac. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like now we didn't sat there and talk culturally about, hip hop, and you didn't spoke to me culturally about country music. Oh, like this is the newest like country out, like everything like that. It's like you're broadening, your expansion of just in this case music knowledge, so genres of music. Then it goes from music to we what we say like movies and everything like that. So it's just like y'all was sitting there getting deeper on a level where she's sitting there listening to hip hop. Now you sitting there listening to country outside of seeing each other, not just together. Man, it's like it's honestly a beautiful thing whenever you sit there and like this, you're able to like connect like that now. And like I said, it don't matter if you black, white, like Hispanic, like nothing. Like if you just able to like sit there and like actually like just connect on a deeper level like that, like that's the dopest thing that you can do for real. Let me what is going on real quick.
You just mute your mic for a second. Oh, sound like they got it. Yeah. All right. Nobody burned down. Good. Sound like a fire alarm. But yeah, man, I think if there's any takeaway really from this brief conversation we've had, is judge people based on them as unique individual people, and the contents of their spirit, their personality, their mind, their feelings, their goals, their desires, and don't give a fuck about anybody that ain't with it, because why give a
For
fuck?
real. Because it's too much. Don't give your energy towards that.
Yeah. Most definitely. Well, personally, I think I'm good on any questions in this go round. What about you, James? Any thoughts you want to leave us with? Any questions?
No, I appreciate you being willing to come on and us kind of exploring, just kind of flowing.
Sure, man, I appreciate y'all having me and being able to get this deep with a conversation like this, man. I ain't never really like been on a podcast and nothing like that, especially talking like about me and Sam's relationship. So this was a first for me. And like I said, I just appreciate y'all giving me the opportunity to be able to do this and hopefully encourage some more interracial relationships out there, just relationships in general, man. Friendships too, man. Like it's just like just go out there and like be yourself, be genuine. Like, man, look, give your energy towards people who don't matter, because at the end of the day, you'll see your friends, you'll see your girlfriend more than you will those people just walking down the street. So
Yeah.
Man, yeah.
Destigmatizing mixing of cultures. I think it's we can become homogenous, we can become tribalistic, we can become toxically tribal. I think it's pretty cool to see both of you, Sae'Von being in my life for many years and seeing him mix cultures. I think it's solid. I mean, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all being willing to be the individual that is talked about, that is poked at, that is whatever. You're just living in your authenticity, living in your truth, man. Being an example. I appreciate both of y'all, and it's been a cool conversation for me to learn.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I think like y'all both just said, hopefully, if anything else, this just encourages people who might be feeling any type of anxiety or any type of way about who they care about, whether it be platonic, romantic, or otherwise, man. Love is the most powerful force in this entire universe, man. And, that transcends everything else. So, yeah, I don't think this will be the last conversation we have about, the hurdles that people will self-impose or feel are being imposed upon them by outside forces as it relates to who they love, whether it be romantic or otherwise. So I'm excited just to go deeper on relationships as a whole, because it's definitely one of the most important aspects of being a human being, in my humble opinion. So heck yeah, thank you, Nick, again for coming on and being frank with us. We appreciate that, and thank you to everybody out there listening, watching, all of that. We appreciate you. And as always, this episode you can find it on Spotify, Apple Music, all the podcast platforms you would normally find a podcast on, as well as on YouTube and on Instagram at is it _8020?
It's 8020 _
8020
EIGHTY20 _.
Right. Yep. So follow us there. Check us out on YouTube. Follow us there. And yeah, we will see y'all in the next episode very soon. Thank y'all. Peace and blessings. We out.
Peace.